Welcome to another Men of War Assault Squad by commentary by me, Morse90. And here's another game on the workshop map, ranked again, with Stigrovitz as my teammate. And I start off with a Assault Squad again. And a tip for those who having trouble finding their riflemen in their squads is when you just bring in the squad, you just tell everybody with a sandbag to put them up. They will separate from the squad will continue running into the center or wherever you told them to run, and those with sandbags will run a different course, and then you just drag over those guys who have sandbags and tell them to become their own group, so to speak, separate them from the group. So these opponents are, I believe they are good. At least they outrank us, or whatever that means. Or, yeah, whatever it means. Ranked is such a strange way to rank people in Men of War forms. Well, yeah, some city street fighting now. And, well, I talked about zone control in the last video. If you see this before the last video, well, the initial group, even though it's an assault squad or regular squad, you should try to create zone control as good as it becomes, as much as possible. Even an SMG behind a wall can kill about 3-4 guys. So try to create that. I bring in an early AA gun to create this initial zone control, and I take out his heavy MG, which he put in to create zone control. Although I can't support that positioning of it, since it can easily be taken out by tanks and such. Mine is at a bit of an angle. But yes, it can be taken out as well, but not in the early stages. That's the benefit of having these early AA guns and heavy MGs. And here I clear some debris in order to kill everyone who has a grenade that's got his name on it. So now we're capping the center thanks to this AA gun, which creates superb zone control. So now we just have to sit. And I've occupied my opponent's condo in that house. It's a very good condo, I can recommend it. The rent is good, and it's very airy. There's lots of sunlight through the hole in the roof, and the sandbags can be fun to play with. So now I'm just clearing some more debris, destroying my opponents, or Stigrovitz opponents, and my opponent, or just Stigrovitz opponents cover. What our opponents can do now is just wait for perhaps a mortar or a light tank that can take us out. And here I'm creating more zone control by occupying these trees. Which my MGs will fire from. And now our opponents brought in a mortar to counter that AA gun. Perhaps they should have gone for a tank instead. And there comes the tank. So pretty good counter, although we have an economic benefit now. Whatever it's called. Kill that tank! And since I can't kill the tank, I try to do as much damage as I can before he takes me out with a good shot from that mortar. So to counter this, we bring in a Panzer IV G, I believe. Yes. Das ist Einpanzer G4. And here we locate my sniper to better precision, so that he won't get run over by that tank. And to counter his mortar and his MG, I bring in a mortar myself. Although, after a little bit of experience with these mortars, it's not the best counter, since they tend to miss, and having trouble destroying mortars, and heavy MGs for that matter, and they refuse to fire even though I tell them to. So now our zone control has collapsed a bit, since those guys can crawl over the entire battlefield. But my MG sees them and kills one of them. And we'll soon get Elia. And now I've started to counter mortar this mortar, since it haven't set up its sandbags. It's a pretty juicy target. Squishy target. And his Stuart and our Panzer IV is duking it out still, and the enemy's bringing in more infantry to cap, which is a good decision at this point. They could have more zone control, because they let my MG set up like this, and that could be a bit of a pain in the arse. Now we took out that Chaffee. So up till now we are pretty even, but taking out that Chaffee makes that us uneven. But if they manage to take out Panzer IV with some infantry, we will be even again. And it's a pretty open flank, so they could manage it. So here I bring in some infantry for special points in order to remind what's it. I'm just now removing my units from those open spots which they can fire from, since that M19 will completely shred everything infantry in its path. And yes, on our part we have too few infantry, and this is why I brought in some infantry, and this will create some trouble for us soon. As you can see now on the right flank, Tigrevis hasn't got enough infantry, and this Sus had a more luck, he could have killed that tank, but now his entire squad died. It was a good try, good try. It's a pain when that won't work out for you. So now I'm putting up some zone control on my side, in the form of an SMG and a Brandenburger. It's a burger, and here I'm rushing that M19, and again, too little infantry support. Especially if you're detracked, you should at least have someone to cover you, or you should be safe. Our opponent apparently doesn't agree with that. And Hans just got an Evan-Koss. And we're still trying to take out that heavy MG, which proves to be more than a match. So now we have semi-good zone control. I got two MGs there, but they are having trouble covering the far right side, which that heavy AA gun would have been able to, but they cover my side more than well, or enough, sufficient is that good of a word. But our enemies should bring in some Hellcats, I believe. Would be a good counter to that Panzer IV. And take that out, and then take out my MG, which are the only zone control we have at this point. And if they do that, they can move in. I'm bringing over my sniper to kill those infantry, since he finally figured out to bring in some infantry there. Fine, he brought in some infantry there to prevent me from killing more of his units. Good move, but he should have, in my opinion, could have spread them out more, so they could have committed some zone control to the center, if possible. Because if we tried, we probably could have run straight through the center right now and not be stopped too much, or having too much trouble with being stopped. And from our part, we have about 2 objectives now, and one is to take out that M19, and the second is to move up on the right flank. Because if we move up on the right flank, which ain't too far away from us, we can, well, we distract the enemy. And I see that Stigrevitz has an heavy MG in the middle, so now would be a good time to move up on the right flank. And they bring in a Jumbo, great tank for zone controlling, so it's a good choice. They should have, yeah, I don't know. It was a good choice. So I bring in an Nashorn, of course. Of course. And there, take it out. A bit lucky shot, we can call it. It was a lucky shot. And it was a desperate move by me, since taking in a Nashorn is a bit rash, in my opinion. But the Jumbo was a great move. He didn't need to drive it in like that. And it's probably because he drove it in like that that he got it killed. Because I don't think it'd have too much problem taking out that Panzer IV. But in my opinion, he shouldn't have taken out that Panzer IV. He did take it out. For you who don't notice, it's repairable, but it's disabled for the time being. That will free up space, or CP, for CP, for Stigrevitz, which means that he can now bring in a Panther or a Tiger or something. Instead, that Panzer IV, in my opinion, would have been pretty useless against the Jumbo, against the Jumbo. And yeah, he could have put it in the center, taking out my MGs, Stigrevitz MG, and then moved in with his infantry. So that's what he should have done, in my opinion. I think it could have worked, I don't know. I'm not a god, I can't see what would have happened. But at this point, their cause is pretty lost, in my opinion. In my opinion, I use that too much. Word too much. And now they're bringing an M5 AT gun to counter my tank. On this map, AT guns have a hard time doing much, since mobility is pretty. And there you see me bug out of that sand box. That cover. Pretty strange that it worked. Well, that M5 gun, it's pretty. I wouldn't take it in, since AT guns, there's so much debris on this map that you can easily move out of his line of fire, and Once he looks at something else, you can take a pock shot through a wall or something with an AP round and decrew it and then just shoot it. Or I can take it out with my mortar and he can't do much. So an AT gun was not the best choice. I would have taken in a Stuart instead or something. Because I don't think Stigravitz has brought in the Panther yet. With another M19 are on their side. My side. That was a pretty... I can go for that, yes. M19, it could clear out pretty much if it took out my Nashorn. So not an awful decision. The problem is that my Nashorn outranges him. But outrageous. And it tends to miss a lot, which is quite irritating. But there, I got it. And in my opinion, what he should have done instead was hide his M19 in a scary position or something, and just try to take out as much of our zone control as possible, since it comes down to that. And if they break our zone control, they can keep the center and stop us from gaining points. So now he's trying to take out my Nashorn, I believe, by shooting through a wall. Not a bad idea. Pretty slim chance of success. But that's the way of the hero. Could be a hero M5. And now they brought in a Sherman 105mm. A Schelling Sherman. Not, in my opinion, they should have brought in some anti-tank to try to take out something. We can, since we have Panther and Nashorn, we can pretty much take out lots of their tanks. And now Stigravitz just squandered his Panzer IV to free up some CP to bring in something else. At this position that we are in, it won't matter too much. But we should probably move on the right flank, since we have 2 MGs, heavy MGs, and several other MGs in the center, with Panther. So those things should force us to attack on the right. And it also forces our enemies to defend on the right. The only problem is that the right is pretty close to their spawn, so they can pretty easily commence zone control of that point, but that will prevent them from zone controlling our side. So at this point, too much cover is destroyed to really do something good on this map with what they got. I guess they could bring in some Sherman 76, but they bring in priests instead. I don't know, artillery, in my opinion, you should not bring it in if the enemy's spamming AT guns and mortars and such, because they can be pretty tough to take out otherwise. MGs, heavy MGs and such. And rocket artillery is great for those things, since it can fire quickly and then move. Doesn't give too much time to counter him. So now I'm like, attack on the right! So I was almost prepared to bring over my Nashorn. And you can see the ridiculous line of sight on this unit. Not even infantry have 360 degree of sight. But What does it matter? It's a Nebelwerfer. Nebelwerfer. So what this game came down to was us killing his Chaffee in the beginning, really. And us killing his Jumbo in the middle there. There to get an M8. So, if they have killed our Panzer IV and not lost their what's it called, Jumbo in like 10 seconds after they brought it in, they could have been in a pretty good position. And here's some nice zone control again. Although it almost died. That shouldn't happen if you have zone control. Your unit should not die. There should die. At least like 3-1 or something. And I can't advise putting up an MG like this, since direct fire from tanks are pretty effective, but what the hell, we're in the lead. And yet again, we should be moving on right, which we are not. And that's a slugger, as you see. That was a pretty good move. He walled it into a building, or he drove into a building to wall it in. And now they're ringing a croc. For some reason, that croc will actually be quite interesting to see what it can do. I outrange it, outgun it, I won't say out-armor it. Perhaps if you take the Nashorns and the Panther's armor, add them together and split by 2, you would have get the Croc's armor, perhaps. Since the Nashorn is a glass cannon. And the enemy shouldn't be able to shoot at it. But I got this engine there, so now it's a sitting duck. Although it's firing on Sticker Rivet's Panther. Oh, it died there. But it took out the 3 crewmen in Sticker Rivet's Panther, so a bit bad, what's it called, battlefield awareness there, perhaps from Sticker Rivet, and for me not telling him. But no harm done, just tank crewmen. Who cares about tank crewmen? I know, I don't. I actually used them as mine clearing in one map, or one game. And as you can see, us capping this point or attacking this point has forced the enemy to react. And another M19. At this point, when we have a Panther, it's, well, if you get the flank, if you can flank the Panther, it's good, but at this point they really don't have any good chances of doing that. But at least they're firing at our heavy MG at this point and taking cover behind things. That's good. But I think Sticker Rivet's Panther. Oh, I took it out for the wall. So lucky shot there. Got the M19. And we're soon ending this game. That was a good game to our opponents. Thanks for watching. And continue to enjoy the last scenes of this battle. And I will put up more games and see you next time I finish here. Bye bye.